Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. It's loading. Oh yes. End stream. I think it has started. Okay, we are live. Awesome. Is it great? Great. So we are live. So folks, tell me, when do we start and how do we start? And till then, hey folks, I see people are coming in. Hey Nikhil. Hey Sahil. Hey Yashraj. Hey Gautam. Good to see you all here.
So let's start at 80 back only.
Thank you, Snehal, for being here, even though you're not a student. Love you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so this is organized by IIIT Lucknow, as you guys know. So yeah, today's content will be specially for students and beginners. And if you have attended any of my talks before, so you might also find some things which are similar, common that you have heard before. But I think you can live through it anyways. And after that, we'll have a Q&A. Of course, there we are open to taking every kind of question that you may have.
So greetings everyone. I am delighted to welcome you all to the third session of Edutalks, flagship panel series being hosted by Eduthon. So a bit about Eduthon. It is a hackathon being organized by IIIT Lucknow virtually from 4th to 6th September. It is the collaboration of programmers, designers, and inventors to code, design, and build innovative solutions that tackle real world problems caused in the education sector due to the corona pandemic. So, today's session will be held by Mr. Saptarshi. It is a pleasure for us to have him take the session. About him a bit, he's an engineer turned self-taught product designer based out of Bangalore, India. He has worked with some of the very well-known startups of India and has learned anything and everything that is needed to create amazing experiences for the users. He's also an active speaker, teacher, and community builder, and has delivered over 60 talks, workshops, and webinars on design in his channel. He keeps on posting videos, having tips, strategies, tutorials, and general gyan to scale your career in design. If you are into it, you may want to subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So, sir, over to you right now. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Vinamra. That was a very nice intro that you have made for me. Thanks a lot, Eduthon, and thanks a lot, IIIT Lucknow, for inviting me for doing this. And thanks for letting me hosting it on my channel as well, so that my viewers get to see it. So, as I have already said, the next 30 to 40 minutes that I'm going to spend speaking to you guys would be tailor-made for the beginners or students who are just curious about design, who wish to know more about design and perhaps pick it up as a career in the future. So it'll be targeted towards that. And if you have attended my talks, any of my talks before, you may find one or two things or analogies or examples that I use relatable. But yeah, that's how it would be. So the way we are working right now is I'm connected using Hangouts, but all the attendees are on YouTube, and there's a lag between the two. So in my slides, I do have pieces where I usually interact with my audience, and then I go and look at the comments or the kind of reactions that you do out there. But I will still try and do that, but just appraising you all that there will be a slight lag around 10 to 20 seconds maybe. So let's see how we can work that out, right? All right. So I'm going to share my screen because I've got a few slides for you all. And after that, after I'm done, we will open the space for Q&A, and you guys can just shoot in your questions. And if I'm qualified enough, I will certainly answer them. So there we go. And also, when I present, I won't be able to see the chats that's right in front of me, but I will have the slide. So I won't be able to read the chats. So Vinamra, if there is anything that I should know about, please help me out. Please
Sorry.
stop me in between and tell me if anything needs to be done there. Okay. All right. All right. Can you guys see my screen here? Can someone unmute and just say if you're able to see it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's totally visible.
Awesome. Thank you. And I hope I'm audible as well. In case I'm not, please feel free to call out in the comments, and one of the organizers would unmute and just let me know, and maybe I'll figure it out from my side if there's anything there. So again, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Saptarshi. I'm product design manager at Swiggy. So I design the apps, I design the app essentially, which people like you and me use for placing food orders in Swiggy. So that's what me and my team does, and that's my handle at the bottom, Saptarshi PR. And if you are watching this from my YouTube channel, then you would know that I'm more popularly known out there as Sapta, because I have a name which is long even for Indian standards. So my friends and everyone in my network prefers calling me Sapta. Please feel free to do that. And yep, if you are joining me from my channel, so hey, you awesome people, welcome to my channel. This is Sapta, and if you're here for the first time, this is the place where I help designers build and scale their career with tips, suggestions, and tutorials. So if you're into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And in today's live stream, I'm going to talk about things which a new designer should know. Thing a student or anyone who aspires to be a designer someday should know. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 30-40 minutes. All right, so I'm going to talk about design, right? Obviously, I'm a designer, so that's what I should be speaking about. Yes, I'm going to talk about design. And many of you already know about design, even though you are, say, not professionally into it. So let's see what you probably know about design. Yeah. So, yep, as designers, you may think that I draw boxes and maybe fill them up with some fancy gradients like this. I also have the capability to round the corners. How awesome it is. And then put some text over it, and then add some fancy shadow and call it a button. No, so yes, I do this. But along with that, there are many other things that I do as well. Okay, that's something who is not into this field may not be completely aware of, right? So imagine if design had only been about this, what you just see on my screen right now, then maybe someone like me wouldn't be needed. Think about it. If you see a button like this on an app, a live app on your phone, who do you think has drawn that button, filled that gradient, and put that drop shadow in your app, a real app? Is that a designer? Nope, it's a developer. Someone like you, if you are from IIIT Lucknow, I'm sure you're a techie and engineering student. That is, someone like you, a software engineer, would have drawn that rectangle, filled it with color, and added the drop shadow and everything. So, what do you think is my work here? That is someone who's a designer. Yes, I instruct them or I tell them how the button should look, but is that it? Do you think me and my team gets paid for only doing that? Not really. So that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. So let's start. Okay, so I'm Sapta, product design manager. Intro once again. So this is how I'm known today. A couple of years back when I was in college, this was more of an intro, a suitable intro for me. Sapta, electrical engineering, IIT Madras, and hobby was graphic designing. Right? So I was that guy who would design t-shirts and posters and all for hostels and different college festivals. So that's what I was. And even better, I started to be known as the Photoshop guy of IIT Madras, because for any Photoshop requirements, I would be the one. Be it touching up your Facebook DP or building or designing a t-shirt or a poster, I would be the go-to guy because everyone knew me as the Photoshop guy of IIT Madras. Let me also give you a sneak peek of the kind of work that I used to do. Look at this. So of course, that's me. This was the design of a badge, something that you wear around your neck during festivals and all, and then show off to everyone that you hold a position. It was that. So it was my photo for that badge. I was a design core of our technical festival, Shastra, and this was my badge. So if you see, this was, of course, created using the tool Photoshop. I've tried to use each and every tool that was available out there. I used a posterize effect on my photo. I took the eraser and masked a part of it out. I used drop shadow. I used bevel and emboss. Essentially, I used anything and everything that I could use in that tool without knowing even if it was needed or not needed, right? So I thought that the better you are at handling a tool, the better you are at handling Photoshop, the better a designer you are. I'm sure many of you might still think that way, rightly so, because you are probably at my place when I was 6 years back in college, right? But as you grow, you realize that design is not just about knowing how to use each and every feature of a tool, but it's about gaining that experience. It's about understanding that reality that 80% of the time you barely use 20% of the tools, maybe even less, right? That's what you can say that you have become matured as a designer, right? And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. All right, here's another of my masterpiece. This is something, again, I designed back when I was in college. Now, this is a poster, right? Of course, it's a print design, it's graphic design, right? It's not even product design, the work that I'm doing today. But look at this. This is actually a poster that we made for an event which was about IQ tests and stuff like that. People can come and participate, attend a few quizzes, and then we will give you okay, this is your IQ, so you win or you lose or something like that. So this was that poster. I actually did proper design thinking behind this poster, and I'll take you through that. But before, I've just used a term called design thinking, and I'm sure many of you would have heard about it or being referred to it, which seems like one of the desired skill, which is awesome, but you do not know how you can start thinking like a designer. Let's see that. So before going to the past, let me tell you what happens in present, or rather what happened last night. I was preparing, I was just going through the slides, of course, and I wasn't preparing them from scratch because I had a lot of it already made. So I was just going through them, and right then my phone rang. It was late at night, some 3 a.m, right? I'm a night owl, by the way, so I stay awake till night. So right when I was working, my phone rang. It was, beside my desk. It was charging. And before I could go and see whose call it was, the line got cut. So essentially, it was a missed call. So I received a missed call at 3 a.m. Okay. And then when I opened and saw, it was from a friend, a friend who I know, a friend essentially. Now, normally you don't get calls from friends at 3 a.m. because we already have a term called 3 a.m. friend, someone who maybe rants and just comes to you and speaks to you for some sort of advice at 3 in the morning. But it's not a normal phenomenon. It doesn't happen very often. But I wasn't scared seeing this thing. You know why? Because I know this guy. I know this friend of mine, and he's also a night owl like me. He also stays awake all night. And he also, sleeps at some 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning. And probably he was trying to call me up for, maybe a midnight chit chat, or he was just telling me what he's having for his midnight snack or something like that. Right? Let us change the situation a little bit. Now imagine if the missed call had not been from a friend, but hadn't been from my mom. I would get really scared because my mom doesn't stay awake at 3 in the morning. She's probably sleeping. And the fact that she's calling me at 3 in the morning, it would scare the hell out of me because it may make me into believing that there is some emergency. Maybe there is something which is bothering my mom or something bad has happened, right? So I would get really scared just because it's not a friend, it's my mom, and I know that my mom doesn't stay awake at 3. Now let's change one more thing here. If I change the time from 3 in the morning till 5:30 to 5:30 in the evening, and if I get a missed call from my mom at 5:30 in the evening, I wouldn't be scared. Now, I know that, okay, 5:30 p.m., mom is awake. She's probably having her evening tea or coffee, and probably she just called me up to find out if I've had my coffee or not. That's about it. I won't be scared anymore, right? Because mom is awake at that time. And I know that that's her normal time when she functions, when she speaks to me, or when she speaks to my brother or everybody else. So you see the same situation. It was a missed call that I received on my phone. Based on who the individual was, based on at what time I received the missed call, it changes the whole thing completely. The way I feel, the way I think, the way my emotions gets triggered, it's completely different based on who the person involved and at what time it has happened. So why do you think, we do it this way? I'm sure, when I narrated the story to you about missed call, you can relate to it. And I'm sure you'll have to agree with me that if you receive a missed call from your mom at midnight, you'll be scared. But at sometime in the evening, you won't be scared. Why? Because we know these individuals and we know their pattern, we know their behavior. So, what we essentially do is we predict when we see certain individual, time of the day, situation, we predict, okay, this might have happened. This might be the reason why they have called me. So, let me pick up or let me call back if I missed a call. These are nothing but small predictions that we do in our lives all the time, all the time. If morning you wake up and you see that it's cloudy outside, you will know that it's going to probably rain. So if you're stepping out of your house, maybe you'll carry your umbrella. What did you do? You looked at the sky, you predicted that it might rain. And based on that, you took a precaution, which is nothing but the umbrella. Or even better, you might think that, okay, it's going to rain today, so let me not step out. Maybe I will work from home or something like that. So these small predictions we all do. We are naturally inclined or we are naturally tuned and trained to make this kind of predictions on a daily life. Right? This prediction is nothing but design thinking. But if you search for design thinking on the internet, you will see a scary looking definition like this. It says the cognitive, strategic, and practical process by which design concepts, that is, proposal for new products, buildings, machines, etc., are developed. Now, this definition itself is so complicated that you would need 2 or 3 more definitions to make sense out of this. Doesn't make sense, right? So, in short, design thinking is nothing but those small predictions that you make based on the knowledge that you already have. And you do it on a daily basis. Think about your life. You do it on a daily basis. Now that you know what design thinking in real sense means, now that I've told you, you might be thinking, what is special about it? We all do it. We all do it on a daily basis. So why do you think someone who possesses the skill of design thinking is so valued in the industry, in the corporate and every other places? The reason they're valued is because they're not just doing it for their own lives. They are doing it, they are predicting things for people, for millions of people who they do not even know. They haven't even seen, they haven't even met. Maybe they just have some idea about what those people could be, what they might like, what they may not like. If I were to use my own example, I work for this company called Swiggy, which is a food tech company, and we have millions of users pan India. Do I know all million of those users? I do not. It's not possible. Maybe once a while I talk to some of them. Maybe you are a user, and if I talk to you, you might tell me a thing or two about what you want or what you like or dislike about the Swiggy app. But that's about it. There's no way I can ever reach out to all the million people who uses my work, who uses my design, and try and get their feedback or try and understand what they exactly want from their life. Difficult, isn't it? That's why. That's why my profession is valued. Because without meeting those people, without meeting those million people, without knowing all the things about those million people, I need to make decisions for them, which is good for them, which is easy for them, which is delightful for them. That is design thinking, which is nothing but predictions. Cool. So, yes, this is what I think the actual definition of design thinking should be: making smart predictions based on situation, time, people, etc. That's what design thinking is. So if I know that I'm going to make an app which is going to feed hungry people by letting them order food from restaurants around, then I'll have to think, who are these hungry people? These hungry people maybe are the people who have been working at their offices all day and now they have just come back home and they are tired, they are hungry, and they're exhausted. So, what kind of mindset will that person have? What kind of things would they want to see in front of the app the moment they open it? And how easy do I need to make them to cater to someone who's hangry? By the way, hangry is a word which we have coined. It means hungry plus angry, right? So, because it kind of plays with your mind. So, what kind of design decisions do you think I will take so that it's easy for that hangry person who had a rough day at his work already? All right, let's play a small game. Well, I'm not sure, if I would be able to get your input on it. You can make predictions for anyone, right? So let's see if you can make a right prediction for me. Okay. So if I were to ask you that if you were to buy an ice cream for Sapta, that is me, which flavor would you buy? Would it be coffee or would it be chocolate? What would be your answer? Can you let me know in the comments? Let's see how much the YouTube lag allows us to do it. Can I see some comments? Yep, yep, yep. Actually, even I have come to the YouTube. So you might see my screen blank. That's because I'm viewing your comments right now. Don't worry, I'll go back there. Everything is fine. Okay, I see chocolate, chocolate, coffee, chocolate, chocolate, coffee, coffee, coffee. Oh my god, coffee for sure. Well done, Ritik. Okay, Ruchi says don't know. Ruchi, that cannot be your answer. You're a designer. Okay. All right. Cool. So there are lots of answers out there. Okay. So let's see what you might have thought. Okay. Can you see back my screen once again? The slides? Can you see my? Got it. Got it. Sure. So I see a lot of options which says coffee, chocolate, and some people who have picked up coffee, they have also given the reasoning. Yeah. So let's see, if what you think is right. So this is what I have asked you to do. Pick either coffee or chocolate for me. That is me as an individual, right? So you might have seen a few things or you might have analyzed a few things that you know about me already. Okay. For example, I told you already that I'm a night owl. That is confirmed. So you might think that, okay, if he's night owl, probably he drinks coffee. That's maybe. It's not confirmed yet, but that's your guess. And since I have coffee to stay awake at night, maybe I like coffee as well. So based on that, maybe you have said that I love coffee flavor. An ice cream with a flavor of coffee would be what I would prefer. So that could be your analogy. Perfect, because that's all you know about me. Because maybe many of you have met me for the first time, an e-meeting though, but that's all you know about me, nothing more. But now if I tell you one extra information about me, what if I tell you that I hate cold coffee? Now, if this is an additional information that I give you, how would your decision change? It might change to some extent because, to stay awake at night, I must be having hot coffee because, that's the one which keeps you awake mostly and not cold coffee. And since I told you I hate cold coffee, that means I probably hate coffee when it is cold, in its colder form. And since ice cream is cold, maybe I wouldn't like coffee. So maybe I would like chocolate. So you see, with another piece of information which I have given you, your decision probably changes as to what you would buy for me. Now, these are just two information which you had about me. That is, the fact that I'm a night owl and the fact that I hate cold coffee. So, with these two assumptions, you can probably pick up chocolate for me or something else. Now, as and when you know more about me, more about my likes, dislikes, my mood, or something like that, the better you would be at picking up something which I might like, right? So, it's all based on information. Now you get the relation, right? when you back then, when you got the missed call, you would see who the person is, and then you would see at what time it is, and based on that you would make some predictions. Similarly, here also you're saying who the individual is. The individual is Sapta, and he's a night owl, he hates cold coffee, so maybe chocolate is the one. So this is again nothing but design thinking. What you guys just did is design thinking, right? So imagine like me and my team, or anyone who's a professional designer, we do this day in and day out for people we do not even know. We might just know a little bit about their general behavior, but not individual, right? So this is design thinking in real sense, which is nothing but prediction. Okay. Now let me take you back 6 years again, my college days. Remember, I showed you this poster? So here also, when I was designing it as a kid, I made certain predictions. So what were the things that I was trying to do there? I was trying to solve a problem. And the problem was, it's an event that we are organizing and we want more and more people to participate in it. This is what the event is about, right? Of course, you organize something so that more and more people come and participate in it. Now, what is the problem? It's a new event and no one knows about it. That's where, marketing, we make posters so that people know that this is happening so that they can come and register, right? Okay, of course, I'm talking 2013 or 14 sometime. And back then, internet or online publicity was there, Facebook and all were there, but there was also a large amount of publicity which would happen offline, that is using posters, which would get stuck on different colleges on the notice boards and all. So this was my problem statement. So what did I do? This was my solution. My solution in the way I wanted the user to know what the competition is about. This is about IQ. It's a Mensa IQ was the name of the competition, and it would be series of IQ tests where smart people would come and participate in the quiz or something, some IQ test, and finally the one with the highest IQ would win. So how do I let the users know? By putting images of other people in the history who we know have high IQ. For example, Albert Einstein or Sherlock Holmes or Stephen Hawking, Newton, and whatnot. So I put all their images, and in between, I put a silhouette. I put a silhouette who could be you. Now imagine of all the great people out there, you could be the next one who gets to sit in between these great people. And also, I wrote this copy in quest for the next with I and Q highlighted and big, because that also kind of reads IQ. So that was my rendition of what I thought, the situation which I had in my mind, and based on what I deduced that this could be a right solution. Right? If I see it that way, I don't think I did a very bad job there. Of course, now that I'm a more mature designer, there are many other things which comes to my mind, like, why are all these men out there? But where has diversity gone? Or maybe why is that outline? Why does it look more like a man? Of course, a lady can also have that kind of a haircut. Or, what am I supposed to do? You have told me about the event, but what is the next thing that I should do? How do I register? Have you told me? Not really. So now that I see it with a different lens, I do find a lot of problems. But I think for a college kid, I have done a decent job out there. Of course, not commenting on the visual styles, but that's a preference that always gets better, right? I'm sure if I had designed a button 6 years back while I was in college, it wouldn't be as good as the one which I just showed you in my slides before. So these things evolve. Okay. So yeah, that's what the one to the left is what I did as a kid in college. And the one to the right is what I do today, now that I'm a professional. The techniques are still the same. I looked into who my people are and what do I want to convey? What am I trying to solve? And based on that, I make some digital artifacts, which is nothing, which was the poster back in 2013. And it's the app in 2020. But the process through which I arrived at these solutions are pretty much the same, Of course, I evolved, but things are pretty much the same. And this is something, it will never change. It'll never ever change, no matter what your medium is. You see, even in this, the mediums are different. One is a print medium, the other one is a digital medium. But the kind of thinking that I put is similar in both of these cases. Similarly, in the future, if you feel that newer technologies may come, AR, VR, or whatever you call it, but one thing which will certainly not change are these predictions that you make. Are these, things that you think and analyze. What are you going to do with that? What value is it going to add to the lives of the people? That is going to remain same. So what do you need to do right now to build a career in design? Is to improve this part of design, your analytical capability. And your ability to design beautiful buttons will automatically get better with time. So don't worry about that, because that's an easier of the two problems. Of course, both are equally important, but that's an easier thing to acquire. What might take a lot of time for most of us is to make good analytical predictions. So next time when you see something, look at it as a designer, not a normal person. Right? What would a normal person do? If you see something around you, you would see it, you'd feel it. Okay, you would not notice anything beyond that. But that's not what a designer does. A designer doesn't just see, but they observe and they dissect all these things in their minds, and they find what is not right here. What could be the flaws? What could add a bad experience? It could be anything. Right now I'm sitting on a chair, and it's an office chair. I can rock by just leaning behind, and I can also try and lean to the sides and to try and pick something from the floor. And while doing it, if I feel that my chair is going to slip, we would always think that a normal person might always think that it's a bad chair. You trip off all the time. Or maybe I didn't sit well, and that's why I have fallen off the chair. But the actual thing could be, maybe there is one small thing which is flawed in the design of the chair. Maybe it has got something to do with the balance or the physics of the things which you have put inside the chair. And once you fix that, things will be fine. So that's how a designer sees. Now, be it a physical object like a chair, or be it a digital app that you have on your phone, you can always apply the same techniques there. You like an app or you use an app every day. Now critically analyze that app. Don't just use it. Just see what is happening. What do you think the designer or the product builders might be thinking when they design this feature in a certain way? They always have a reason. And by looking at this, try and see if you can think of the same reason as well. And if you feel something isn't good enough or isn't comfortable enough, maybe try and think of how you can make it better. Yep. So folks, that's pretty much what I had in my deck. Wanted to keep it short because it's beyond the scope of 30 or 40 minutes to teach someone design, but I tried my best. So that's my YouTube channel where you guys are on right now, and these are my handles on other social media platforms where I dwell. So please feel free to connect with me. And now I would love to take some questions. Yeah, folks, all yours. Hey, Vinamra, you're there? So will you help me pick up some questions that you might
I
have
have
got?
been constantly looking. So till now we did not have any. But yeah, we've
Okay.
got a first question from Madhavan. He's asking trends, styles will change. Okay, that is more of a like. Will the principles
Okay, so
change?
so maybe it just started showing up on the feed right now. So let us just maybe wait for a second or two till we start getting questions. So folks, please drop your questions if you have any for me. And yeah, trend style will change, but the principles never change for the last 100 years. Yeah, maybe 100 years is too long, but yes, that's pretty much it. The fundamentals of design do not change. Yeah. Okay, I see a few questions here. Redesigning a feature for Swiggy, what should I keep in mind? Okay, so Anishka, if I understand right what you're saying, it seemed like you're trying to redesign a feature for Swiggy, and what should you keep in mind? So, when you're redesigning something, keep in mind that why you are doing it. Why are you redesigning anything? You redesign because something isn't right. Like, I had given the example of a chair. Why would you redesign a chair? If there is something wrong with the chair, you are tripping, or it's not comfortable, or you're getting a backache or something. But if things are all fine, there's nothing that you need to redesign that chair for. So the same with Swiggy. So before you attempt to redesign a feature, you'll have to know what are you trying to solve with that redesign. What is the problem which is there in the present one? And then your solution should be able to solve that problem. So that is very important. The first step, you should identify what the problem is, and then find a solution for it. Okay, let's say a few other questions here. Web designer could make in UX. Is it beneficial? Okay, so app tiles have asked that question. So I think if I could make sense out of it, it's like, can a web designer get into UX? And is it beneficial? UX is there everywhere. Don't think that a web designer doesn't think about the users. They will have to. What do you think a website is used for? A web designer is a person who designs a website. Every website also has a purpose. You do not simply design a website, right? You design it for a reason. If it's a marketing website, then using that website, you're letting your prospective users or your prospective client knows what you have to offer. Is the website doing that work properly? That's something that you should think. So the moment you start thinking that way, you are thinking about your user and the experience your end user would have at the end. So that is essentially UX. So they're not disconnected. They're always connected. Yeah. Okay, let's see what other questions are there. Okay, now I see all the questions popping in. So Vinamra, I might need your help in this in this regard, because I think questions are dropping. So I will pick up randomly one or two. Meanwhile, if you find some good questions which I had missed, please let me know. Please feel free to unmute.
Surely, sir.
Yep. Can you suggest an affordable hosting platform for hosting my portfolio, or any other ideas for representing my portfolio? Okay, so that's for the question from Parna Sarkar. So Parna, there are lots of no-code platforms these days where, if you're talking about a design portfolio, I'm assuming since it's a design session, you can always try them out. And also, do not always think that you need to have a website to show your portfolio. You can always post it in a public domain, like places like Behance or Medium, where you have the option to show your hands-on work and also write about it and let the users know about what kind of thinking had gone behind doing that. So do not think that building your personal website is the only way to go about. That's one of the ways of going about, but public platforms are also there. So you might want to think, do you really want to put that effort to create that website all by your own? If you make it, well and good, but just evaluate it. Okay. How many case studies should one have in their portfolio before applying for an internship? So that's never a number. It's always the quality. So if you still want a number, I'll tell you, two to three detailed case studies should be more than enough for you to get started with. Okay. So if you have that, I think that should be enough. There's no point having 10 or 20 of them and say they are not well thought out or they're not well made. That doesn't give you any brownie points. There's a large number of case studies, but what gives you brownie points are how much of thinking you have put into it, how much of details you have added there, right? So that's better. So 2 to 3 should be good enough. And meanwhile, I see, Vinamra had posted some questions here in the Hangouts chat as well. Let me see. Can you please talk about design evangelists? How is a design different from product designers? It's an English word. Evangelist is a person who evangelizes anything. Now it has derived from the word, if you see its dictionary meaning, it has derived from the word when missionaries of Christianity, they would come and promote, saying that, okay, this religion is good, maybe you should convert and all. So that's what the word evangelism has started from. Now, when you put it with any other word, you call it design evangelist, is a person who speaks about design, who says, this is the good way of designing, who this is, a certain way of designing and so on, right? So that's what a design evangelist does. So from a job point of view, if you say that there's an evangelist at a company, so that person is probably responsible for promoting their way of design in other places. Okay, so that's what a design evangelists do. They do not design on their own. Whereas product designers are people like me who design. Okay, so if you're looking forward to that, if you're early in your career, you might want to think, do you really want to be an evangelist? Or do you want to design first? Because you wouldn't have any design experience by being a design evangelist. So That's something. What is the process of user research or analysis to build an app or a website? The process depends. The process differs from what are you trying to gain out of it. Based on which stage you are in or what kind of product you're building, your process for research will change. Of course, I'm not the best person for research because that's not one of my expertise. Of course, I do participate and conduct a research once a while, but there are dedicated people in my team or other places where research happens. But I can give you a gist of what it is. So think about it. If you are making something where you do not have any idea about, you do not have any benchmark, nobody else has done it in the industry before, right? So it's like, it's an uncharted territory that you are jumping into. Then you will do a certain kind of research because you have no idea what users would react to if you're planning to build something. Versus if you're doing research, say for a feature of an existing thing, which users are already using, but you're trying to make something better, then you have certain idea in your mind. Then maybe you can show some options to the user and try and understand whether this is working better or that is working better. So there are different qualitative, formative, different kinds of research, and we pick those techniques based on what are we trying to gain out of it and what is our knowledge level. You do research to validate your own thoughts, right? So you as a designer or you as a product person might think that this is what we should do, and then you go and do some research and find out what you thought, is it right, does it even make sense? So it also depends on how much you already know, right? So where you are will define what you would need to validate this idea. So that's the process about. You're hiring someone. What is it that you see other than a portfolio and a good case study? So portfolio and case study is to a designer what resume is to any other profession. So that's the first step. That's the first level of filtering that happens. So because nowadays everything happens digitally. So when we receive requests from people or when we receive requests from our talent acquisition team that these are some of the probable candidates, the first thing that we see are their portfolio. That gives us a good sense of what kind of designer they are. So it's always the first step, but that's about it. After that, it's the rest of the things which you as an individual do. Now, what else we see? We see that what you have put in your case study, can you live up to that? Right? So are you actually capable of doing all the things that you mentioned on your case study? Maybe we can also test those things out by giving you a new case study. We give you to work on something. Okay, I give you this problem, maybe take 2 or 3 days and come back with a solution. And then based on that solution, we judge how are you. Okay. And of course, along with all these hard skills, we also see how you are as an individual, because at least I personally believe that design is a way of life. It is embedded inside you. You cannot say that my designer instincts will kick in only when I open the tool. No, it cannot be that way. If you're a designer, it's seen. The way you think on your daily life, the way you do certain things in a daily life, how you react to other individuals' responses, all this kind of determined. So, the softer aspects which are not directly related to your design doing, we see those things as well, right? Okay, so I'm bad at arts and drawing. Will it affect me in designing UI? Not at all. Not at all. I'm bad at drawing as well, but I can make good UI. So as a kid, when I would draw, the biggest problem, what would we face? So imagine you're drawing a butterfly. The biggest problem you will have is, how do I make exact symmetrical wing on the other side? Because our hands can only be so good if you're not good at drawing, like you said. But all these problems are solved by digital tools. All that you have to do is just design one side of it and then maybe replicate and just copy it up. So there are ways in which you can overcome the fact that you're not good at sketching. But again, creating illustration, if I were to talk about digitizing all this sketches, illustration is a different ball game. That is not a mandatory thing for UI design, but it's a good to have. So not worry about that. That will not hamper or affect your career of UI design. Process of research, I think I've spoken about already. Can you suggest any specific course online for UI UX design? Sure, I can suggest some courses, but I would want you to know that I myself have never taken any courses on UX design. I don't even have a degree. I'm an engineer. I have an engineering degree, but not a design degree. So I'm not the best person to recommend courses to you. But I've heard that some of the courses by IDF, Interaction Design Foundation, are good. But I cannot strongly suggest that because I personally haven't taken. And if I haven't taken, I'm not sure if it's right on my part to recommend that to you. But having said all this, it is possible to self-learn UI UX, self-learn all the things, the gist of what I have given in my presentation today. It is possible to self-learn because design is there inside you already, right? You do not need any kind of training to know that if your mom sends you a missed call at 3 in the morning, there's something wrong. Or, or your friend who is a night owl already, for that person, it's an obvious thing. So you do not need any teaching for you to know. It's naturally inside us. All that you'll have to do is take that thing out, harness it a bit so that, it works for the larger audience and not just the people you know very well, right? So that's about it. Okay, should I use design learn to illustrate also? Like, is it compulsory? I think I've covered that. No, it's not compulsory. I remember once you said your first tool for designing is your mind. So I just wanted to know, how do you practice it? Yes, my first tool is always my mind, because I think that's the best canvas all of us are naturally gifted with. You all can think, you all can imagine a lot of things without having to, know about the constraints of what is possible or what is not possible. So when I said that that's the best canvas that I have, I meant the ideas. So the question that was asked to me back then was, how do you get the ideas? Maybe knowing the tool and creating some transition or interaction. It's about knowing the tool, but where do you get that idea from? So I said that I get that idea when I see things around me. It was, of course, the question was asked from a motion design point of view. It's about when I see stuff around me. I know that, okay, this is a phone. If I drop it, it's going to fall in a certain way. So, can I think of that trajectory of the phone falling, and can I implement something in my UI design or in my UX design? So that's how I think. So that's what I meant, that processing happens in my head. And then, in my head, when I feel that, yeah, this is an idea which is good enough, it's worth pursuing, maybe I get into paper and pen and I start sketching things, or I get into my tool and start creating those boxes and fill them up with gradients and shadows. Yeah, those are the subsequent steps. All right, let's see. As a product designer, it's also important to consider the business return of investment side of product you design. Yes, absolutely. So while designing for Swiggy, what aspects did you and your team consider to generate ROI? There are lots of aspects. There are lots of aspects that you need to take care of. But I'll tell you the core of the thing, right? We are product designers. So our work is to make the product successful, the product in the best way possible. For that, we need to make trade-offs, right? To give you a simple example, if I were to say that what is best for the user, in Swiggy, for instance, all of you will have your different opinions, but one thing I can certainly say, that if I say that every restaurant will have 50% off, that would be the best for you, right? And then you buy a meal, you get a dessert free, right? We all are value seekers. We are Indians. That's totally fine, right? But is that something that I can afford to as a company? No, I cannot. So, we cannot offer that. So we need to think about that. So is it sustainable, what we are giving, right? At times we face problems like, many people are not using that feature. People are missing that. So what do I do? So do I just go and make it big, bold, and add an animation so that people see something is happening, they go and tap and use? Not really. We evaluate. Is people supposed to see that more? If yes, how much more? And why are people not going inside right now? So there are different ways that we consider. And then we also understand, what do we as a business want? Do we want more people to go inside this? Maybe because, certain revenue aspects are connected with that. So based on that, we take decisions that way. Can you suggest all the softwares which are easy? All the UI design softwares are easy. Trust me when I say this. And UI design softwares are nothing but Sketch, Figma, Adobe XD, InVision Studio. There are many such tools, and they're extremely easy to use. They're easy, like Microsoft Word, for instance. Did you ever see any tutorial for Microsoft Word? No. Because you open it and you know what to do. You have a blank canvas, you type, you can select, change a font size, style, everything, and you know exactly what is happening. UI design tools are exactly like that. So, you do not have to think about, how do I create this box? So you can think about the things which really matter. How do I make it easier for my user or good for my user? So all these tools are extremely easy. You open it once, you will naturally know what to do there. Okay. Human interface guidelines versus material design. Which one do you like? Okay, which one do I like? Okay, that's a subjective question. I'm an Apple user. I use iPhone, and I have many other Apple devices, like you see. So that way, I think I would say I like the Apple's way of visual design, but that's about it. I'm not saying that I love the experience which Apple gives. Well, I love in many other ways, but these are only visual things. Human interface guidelines and material design are more of visual stuff. So if you ask my visual preference, I would prefer the Apple way. Yeah. What is your experience? What is your advice to experienced designers? How can they upgrade their skills on UI and UX? Okay, so this session is mainly for beginners, but okay, I will answer that regardless. So this is something that I always say. I keep repeating all the time that you grow as a designer. When you grow as a designer, it's not that your hands-on design skill improves a lot. It does to some extent because you are anyways doing it for a long time. But what gets better is your decision making capability. You are a better decision maker. Okay, so if I were to pull it back and see it from the other angle, what do you need to do get better or to upgrade your skills is to get better at your decision making. Okay, design decision making. So it is said that, again, I'll give the same example. We need this is a feature, people are not using it, so we need more people to get into it. Okay, fine. You as a junior designer, you may think that, okay, my only problem is to let people go inside this card. So what do? Maybe I make the card big, maybe I make the card colorful, maybe I put an illustration animation to let people inside it. That's how maybe a junior designer will think. Here's how a senior designer will think. The senior designer will first ask the question as to why do you need more people to get inside? And he or she will go and analyze what is the reason that people are not going inside right now. Is it because we have done something wrong here? Is it because we have done something wrong to it? Or is it because we have done something wrong to the surrounding things, which is, the reason why people are losing this? So there are many other questions which will come, and based on all this analysis, they will take a decision. Okay, you know what? People are not going, but we will not do all these things. We will instead do something else. So this, the fact that you could look into the bigger picture of what is happening and take a decision as to what you should do, that is a skill upgrade. That's what will take you ahead. Okay. With so many amazing designers at Swiggy, how do you manage to stand out? Do I stand? You're talking individually about me, right? So first of all, I do not know if I stand out. Yes, you are right. The Swiggy team is filled with amazing designers, and I think it's a great experience to work with all of them on a daily basis because you learn a lot of things by working with smart people, working with awesome people, and everyone is motivated. I think that's what I can tell you. So our attempt as a team is to not let one individual stand out. It's about we shine as a team so that when people look at our work, the Swiggy app, they talk about that team has done it. So that's what we attempt to do. Do you need to know coding? Nope, you don't need to. But is it good if you know? Yeah, maybe. Since we all work for tech companies, it is important to understand how tech works, but you certainly don't need to work. So you need to understand what is possible, what is not possible, and stuff like that. Okay, as a designer, do you guys have pressure when Zomato comes up with a new design because we need to focus on problem first, right? See, one thing about any business is you need to keep your friends close and enemies closer. Okay, so I'm not saying anyone's an enemy here, but when there are other players who are doing similar work in the domain, yes, we do keep a track of what they are doing or what strategies they are applying. But having said that, even though two companies might seem they are doing similar work because both of them are kind of selling food, but the DNA of the two companies could be very different, right? So that could be valid for companies like Swiggy and Zomato as well. So it's never a versus sort of thing, right? What we try and see is if certain change has come, of course, I'm talking about functional changes, not just visual changes. Sorry. We try and understand what would have led them into doing that. And we just don't do it for only food companies. We do it for everything. So today, Uber, which has got nothing to do with food tech, if Uber brings in a new feature and then they bring a new interaction or a new way of handling a particular problem, we question that as well. We dissect that as well, right? We try and understand what would have they thought? Why did they do this? So that's an exercise for us. It makes us better as a designer. So yeah, we do it for every company, not just Zomato. You mentioned earlier that you see a designer, you know it from their behavior. What behavior aspects do you look at? Sure. I think I touched base on this today as well. When somebody asked me, what do you look into a designer? I'll tell you what I see here. Okay. Empathy. I'm sure many of you, this is just an example, by the way. Empathy is not the only thing I see. Empathy is a word you would hear a lot when it comes to designing. Empathy is an English word. It means how well can you understand the happiness or the sadness or the feelings of somebody else. I can empathize with you, right? Something like that. Okay, you lost your grandfather. I can empathize with you. I feel sorry for you and stuff, right? It's about feeling somebody else's feeling. It's about standing in somebody else's shoes, right? So people speak a lot about, okay, no, this is what I did. This is my design process. I empathized, I defined, I did this and that. Fine, you write all those things in case study, but your test of real empathy is the way you treat other humans. If you come for an interview, I will not just look into your case study. Of course, I will obviously look there. But along with that, what I will also see is how are you treating other humans around? That says a lot about how empathetic you are. Of course, that could be my personal way. I would see how you are reacting or how you're behaving with someone who's serving you coffee or someone who doesn't mean anything to you, right? So these are the real indicators which suggest how much of an empathetic person you are. It is not always about what you write on your paper. So you'll have to live up to that, like I said, right? These are some of the behavioral aspects. This is one example of that. Thanks for your precise answer. By the way, didn't tell us your favorite ice cream flavor, coffee or chocolate. Neither. It's none of these. I think these are very common. I have a different flavor, but I'm not going to reveal that now, or else, how can I conduct one more session? Then I may bring that flavor and then ask you certain questions. So yes, answer to that is neither. My favorite flavor is actually something else. But between these two, I think I'm not sure. I'll skip that. Is a degree in HCI or interaction design necessary for big product companies like Google, Microsoft, Adobe, or Apple? Short answer, no. If you talk about big companies, a couple of years back, I think 1 or 2 years back, these big companies, which includes names like Google, IBM, and all, they've clearly said, we do not care whether you have a degree or you do not. All that we care is how good are you? How much of value can you add to the company? So you can be a dropout. You might have never gone to any kind of college, but if you're good enough, we will take you. So that's what these companies do. And that's what even companies like Swiggy do. Of course, Swiggy is not at the league of these companies yet, but I think you try and understand what I'm saying. So companies just care about how much of value you can add. That's it. And this is valid for design as well as developer roles. Yeah. Okay. You mentioned about the evaluation. How much does an UX designer gaze through the customer calls, especially the customer complaints? Or do you guys just restrict yourself to create cool animations? Not at all. We take these things very seriously. It gets a little difficult to do in a company like Swiggy, which is a little bigger, which is like we're actually much bigger. But I remember right before Swiggy, I used to work for this company called Zeta, which is a much smaller company. There, every Thursday, the entire design team, that is people like me, we would listen to the recordings of customer care complaints. We would listen to the recording and we would take notes. Like, where is the customer facing problem? What is the reason that the customer has faced this problem? At times it would be about, of course, Zeta was a payments company. At times it would be about payment failing. At times it would be about they're not able to find something on the UI. Yeah. And a lot of other things. So we would, as a process, do that every week. Listen to the conversation, write notes, send the feedback to the right people. Or at times, if there is anything related to design, we would sit and rectify them maybe. But in a company like Swiggy, listening to those conversations on a daily basis is a tough task because our volumes are much larger. But what we do is we keep a close watch on what is happening around, right? So which means social media. If someone is tweeting, if someone is putting something on Facebook, LinkedIn, complaining or suggesting something about Swiggy, even if we do not reply to those posts unless someone is individually tagged, we take them very seriously. There's every time there is any tweet or anything out there which talks about certain UX, be assured that there's certainly a conversation which is going in our WhatsApp or Slack groups. We are discussing, okay, this person has pointed out. So what we try and understand is, what is the person actually missing? Why did he or she arrive at that problem? So we dissect it. So it's not that we are not looking at this. So along with cool animations, we also listen to people, friend. Okay. In which year of college life do you find that your domain is UX or you explore different domains? Not at college at all. Design was my hobby. So all through my college, I always felt that design cannot be my profession because it's not going to pay me so much, is what I thought. And after studying in an IIT, who would want to have a low paying job? So that's what I thought, at least. I was a materialistic person back then. Okay. So I got into a different job. My from my campus placements, I got into a managerial job because that really interested me. So during my college, I never ever thought that UX could be a career because I was not confident of how good a field it would be. So it was only 1 year after I have graduated from college, I got an opportunity to work full time as a UX designer. And that's when I thought, okay, you know what, let's give it a try. And that's how I got into housing.com, my first professional design job. And I'm liking it so far. Let's see how far it goes. Okay. What do you think? A stock vendor or a skinned version of Android? I think I like stock Android any day because I think that's cleaner. I do not really like MIUI or what Samsung and all does over it. But these days it's getting better. In older days, it's been a long time that I've used Android first of all. But when I did, I still like the cleaner one. I remember I used to root my phones and put Cyanogen mod and all just for the cleaner look. I used to have a Samsung Android phone back then. Okay. Hi, Sapta. How do you respond to a client who has given you harsh criticism or feedback? Okay. So, client in our case are our customers. It could be a very critical tweet. I think that's what you mean. So, what we do is at times we do not respond in public unless an individual is tagged, because when you are doing that, you are not just representing your own individual self, you're representing the whole company, and it's the company's reputation at stake. So one wrong word or one not so right thing that you see might hamper the reputation of the company. So as a policy or as a common sense, we do not indulge any company related work, conversation in the social media. But of course, if someone tags me, say okay, Swiggy has this, okay, Saptarshi, you want us to look into this or something, then what we do is we say that okay, we will look into it, and maybe later we DM them and try and understand what the problem was. But this is for a company like Swiggy. Once I remember, like my previous company again, Zeta, we were so obsessed with our consumers there that once one person was furious because that person had made transaction in some Swiggy or Zomato, I don't remember. The payment got deducted from Swiggy, sorry, from Zeta, but the payment wasn't made on the merchant site. So that he was furious. 250 rupees of order he paid. He started saying this. I remember I paid him back from my pocket. I said, sir, it's in the escrow. It's going to come back to your account. Till then, I'm sending you the refund right away. So I did a P2P transfer to that person. 250, okay, fine, I can afford it. So, if that pacifies my customer, I can do it. So we have gone to that extent, right? But again, the scale of the company determines a lot of things. I could do that at Zeta. Swiggy is certainly not possible because it's so big. It's much bigger. Okay. Respond. Okay. Which social platform is better to display our design and skills as a designer to get noticed by companies and get hired? Honestly, doesn't quite matter which company it is, because people who are looking for designers, they're usually on every place. Okay. But if you're talking from a very professional point of view, LinkedIn is really catching up these days because the reach in LinkedIn is really good, because their algorithm, the way it works, and also it is relatively easier to get noticed on LinkedIn, in my opinion. Again, in my opinion, right? But having said that, you are likely to get noticed no matter which platform you put your stuff on, be it Instagram, Dribble, or any other place, right? So I personally like LinkedIn because maybe over the years I have built some amount of audience, and I have certain reach on LinkedIn. But I'm talking about the time when I wasn't so active on LinkedIn. I had just started Dribble, maybe posted a couple of shots out there, but the kind of attention that I got there was also unmatchable. So I would get messages from designers and recruiters from all over the world who would come and appreciate my work and say that, okay, would you like to work for us, or would you want to do this freelance project and all. So you can get noticed on any platform, right? But make sure that you promote it well. You make sure that you show it off to people. Like, you just don't post and then sit. So if you're posted on Dribble, go and share those links in a few other places on your Facebook, or there are a lot of Facebook groups and all, so that then people know that you have posted something. Yeah. Okay. Can you differentiate between UI design and UX design? Of course, UI is user interface and UX is user experience, right? For example, you are seeing me, and only thing that you can see me is my face, my hair, my t-shirt, my AirPods, and my background. This is only the thing that you can see me. But can you feel me? Not really. Maybe you can hear me, that amounts to some amount of feeling, but you still do not know whether I'm stinking or not. Did I have my bath or not? You wouldn't know all those things, right? So it's not complete yet, right? So when you say UI, that is just one part of the experience. That is the interface. You know, how good or how good does it look, or how does it feel when I look at it for the first time? But how does the overall experience make you feel? That's what user experience comes into the picture. I can have a beautiful UI, say for Swiggy, for instance. But if I tap on the add button and I make a payment, if my payment fails every single time, that'll be an example of a good UI, but a bad experience, right? So overall UX will still be bad, even though your design was very good, right? Or your visual design was very good. So that's exactly where the difference is. UX is a much bigger bracket. UI is just a subset of that. There's a popular saying that content is king. I have personally seen that in action. Okay, Vinamra, I see it's 9 p.m. already, so let me know if when we need to stop. I can go on for some more time. I can pick this questions. Let's see.
No, we don't have any limitations, but like I have covered most of the questions. And like now,
Okay, so I think
more questions are not coming.
whatever you posted, I'll just cover them quickly, and then maybe we can wrap it up.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. There's a popular saying that content is king. I've personally seen that in action. And one thing a lot of users don't talk about is how good Swiggy's microcopy and content is. Thank you for that. Uh, but honestly, I'm personally not very proud of the kind of microcopy that we write within the app, the UX copy. I see there's a lot of room for improvement, and we are getting better at that. But I think what you're talking about is the marketing copies that we write, the marketing campaigns that we make. Yes, they are top notch, but that's a different team that's working on. At times they even outsource some of those services. So yes, I think you're talking about those witty emailers and Instagram posts and the engagement stuff that we do. Yes, I think they're great. Can you give an idea regarding a salary bracket for a beginner and someone with 5 years of experience? Now my question is repetitive. Uh, Short answer is same as a developer or a product manager. So there's no difference in that. So there are not many designers, so maybe that's why you've asked this question. But there are lots of developers, and you know how much a certain company would pay a developer who has just graduated out of college and joined a company. So the range of salary for designers is around the same lines. And for someone with 5 year experience, I have 5 years of experience, and it can vary. I have seen designers with 10 years of experience earning as less as maybe under 10 lakh rupees per year. I have also seen designers with 3 to 4 years of experience earning at the levels of crores, right? So it all depends on how much of value you can add to your company and how much of skill do you have, right? So it's a very, very variable thing, especially for the 5 year experience thing. For a beginner, it's still a simple question. So if I, of course, I am not allowed to speak numbers here, but if you want to know how much a beginner designer, say in a company like Swiggy, for instance, earns, it would be similar to how much a beginner software engineer in Swiggy would earn. Simple. Okay. Which company do you think has a strong design sense and its hints in products? And what's your favorite app in the item in the terms of design, be it usability or aesthetics? Uh, that's a very broad question. Swiggy is certainly one of my favorite designed apps because I'm kind of involved in that, or my team is involved. So yes, Swiggy is one of them. At a global level, I love Airbnb. I think that's one of the gold standards of good design. The visual design and also functionality, everything. I have some new favorites as well. There's this app called Headspace. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. It's an app using which you can meditate. So I love that app. That's a designer's delight. In fact, I've heard that one of the co-founders is also a designer in Headspace, and he's the one who himself, creates those animations and illustrations. So I really look after that app a lot. So yep, Airbnb, Headspace, and Swiggy could be three of my favorite picks. Okay, what are the changes that you guys have made after COVID, and how did it affect your Swiggy's design process? The biggest change, of course, that we became remote. Now we are completely remote. We haven't gone to office since March. Yep, we took this decision really early, much before many other companies. So we started working from home from 1st of March, I think. And now official announcement has come that it will continue like that till 31st of December. So yep, we all are working from home. uh, Hangouts, Slack are the ways, video calls, audio calls are the way we collaborate. So it's fun. And in between, when when lockdown and all was at peak, when everything was closed, we did a lot of things on the app, because food is an essential service that never shuts down. So we had to do more so that people trusted us. I know that restaurants were taking steps so that a lot of things were sanitized and it was absolutely safe for our consumers. But no matter how much you say, you always have this thing in your mind, right? Is it really safe? So back then, we were designing for trust. I mean, we still design for trust, but I think that was one of the most interesting phases that I've ever encountered in Swiggy, where the problems were new, the challenges were new, and we were shipping really fast. We designed today, tomorrow it's live. So yeah, we had worked at that pace. I remember for 2 months almost, there were no weekends for me, there were no holidays for me. I would have my lunch at 7 p.m. Yes, 7 p.m., you heard me right. At times I would even skip lunch. So we were all dedicated and working, and but we never felt it that it's so much of work we are doing, because we were so engrossed. We knew that it's a battle. We are battling corona, and whatever we can do at our own levels needs to be done best. And I'm a designer, so all of us were giving our best. So it was a fun phase, man. Okay, there's the last question. Sapta, big fan. Thank you. Tell us your design secret. Super chat from Akash Solanki. Oh wow, there's a super chat. Okay, Akash, you certainly don't need to know any secret if I do. Honestly, I honestly I do not have any secret. But for folks who do not know, Akash is also a very well-known designer in the network, and he's also like quite good in what he does. He's just being modest when he says that he's a big fan of me. But honestly, there is no secret, folks. um, the only thing that you need to do is be clear what you're doing, right? Be absolutely clear. Ask questions and questions to clear all your doubts. If someone comes and tells you, we need to start selling detergents tomorrow, so make a UI for that. You do not jump into the tool and start working and making UI. You need to know, why are we selling detergent? What do we get out of it? What is the reason? What will be the user's mental space? If they're coming to buy food here, would they buy detergent? Or maybe should we put it in different place, right? So all these questions you need to ask whoever has given you. Just because someone tells you to do something doesn't mean you'll have to blindly follow it. Only when you feel it's the right thing to do, then you do. And asking questions is the best way to clarify all your doubts in mind. I don't know if it's a secret. I do it. And yeah, it's working that way, folks. I think that's pretty much all the questions, guys. Vinamra, over to
So,
you.
so that was an incredible session. I hope that everyone who was a part of it did really enjoy it. It was a pleasure to have you, sir. Thanks for agreeing to this and doing this with us. So, just to remind everyone, um, Eduthon will be closing its registrations tomorrow. Tomorrow is last date for all the people who wish to register. Do check out our website. Do check out our other speakers in the same series. Till then, thank you all for coming. Big thanks to Sapta sir. So that's from us.
Thank you, Vinamra. Thanks for inviting me. I think it's always a pleasure. So I rarely say no to a college, because I feel for them, because I was a college student once and I was learning. So I would love to give back, especially to college students who wants to start out. So my channel is essentially for beginners. So that's about it. And for all the people who have joined, I see around 112 people still watching. Really appreciate that. And I know that because time is short, I couldn't cover all the answers. And like any of my live streams, please post your questions on the comment section of this video, because this video is going to remain on my channel. Please post it in the comment section. I will come back and answer. I will surely answer. So if your question was missed, please post it there. I'll answer there.